Starting a business is exciting, but turning it into a success can be tough.
We have the ideas and the passion, but what about the financial know-how?
That's why the Ministry of Small Business and Entrepreneurship created the Building Bankable Businesses program to help us develop financial skills and to get loan ready.
Wait, so you're saying this program can actually help me get a loan?
Yes, it gives us the knowledge to strengthen our business and an alternative pathway to qualify for National Bank's small business loans.
So you mean I won't just be walking into the bank hoping for the best?
Of course not. You'll be prepared, confident, and know exactly what's required.
Thanks to the Building Bankable Business Financial Literacy program, I finally understand what my business needs to grow.
Now I know how to plan, manage, and position myself for success.
Take control of your business's future with the Building Bankable Businesses program.
Opportunities like this don't come every day. Don't let it pass you by.
Together, the Ministry of Small Business and Entrepreneurship and the St. Kitts Nevis and Gwilla National Bank are your trusted partners in building bridges to financial solutions.
This one is for all of me, darling. As anyway we did the girl and dolly up, Juve and dolly up, Parade and dolly up. They call me straight sugar mass out of the dolly ups, out of the dolly ups. Them girl the dolly up, and me say Barbie dolly, them girl a Barbie dolly. Two face nice, she up on the necessary. Barbie dolly, them girl a Barbie dolly. Two face nice, she up on the necessary.
Welcome to the Ministry of Small Business and Entrepreneurship, now located at Building 16, Port Zante. Meet Chantel, a young entrepreneur with vision and ambition. She's here to make her dreams come true, and we're here to help. From the moment you walk through our doors, you'll be greeted with a warm smile and a welcoming attitude. Our dedicated staff is here to guide you every step of the way. As Chantel is taken to her appointment with a business advisor, you'll get a glimpse of our workspace designed for collaboration and innovation. Our business advisors are the backbone of our success, ready to provide expert guidance and advice for your small business journey. Personalized consultations ensure that your business goals and aspirations are understood and supported every step of the way. At the Ministry of Small Business and Entrepreneurship, we're more than just an office. We're a community, a support system, and a family dedicated to your success. Join us on this exciting journey to turn your dreams into reality. The Ministry of Small Business and Entrepreneurship, building businesses, fueling innovation. Your success story starts here.
Starting a business is exciting, but turning it into a success can be tough.
We have the ideas and the passion, but what about the financial know-how?
That's why the Ministry of Small Business and Entrepreneurship created the Building Bankable Businesses program to help us develop financial skills and to get loan ready.
Wait, so you're saying this program can actually help me get a loan?
Yes, it gives us the knowledge to strengthen our business and an alternative pathway to qualify for National Bank's small business loans.
So you mean I won't just be walking into the bank hoping for the best?
Of course not. You'll be prepared, confident, and know exactly what's required.
Thanks to the Building Bankable Business Financial Literacy program, I finally understand what my business needs to grow.
Now I know how to plan, manage, and position myself for success.
Take control of your business's future with the Building Bankable Businesses program.
Opportunities like this don't come every day. Don't let it pass you by.
Together, the Ministry of Small Business and Entrepreneurship and the St. Kitts Nevis and Gwilla National Bank are your trusted partners in building bridges to financial solutions.
This one is for all of me darling. I say me baby that they girl and dolly up, Juve and dolly up, parade and dolly up. They call me straight sugar mass out of them dolly ups, out of them dolly ups, them girl them dolly up. And me say Barbie dolly, them girl a Barbie dolly. Blue face nice, she up on the necessary. Barbie dolly, them girl a Barbie dolly. Blue face nice, she up on the necessary.
Welcome to the Ministry of Small Business and Entrepreneurship, now located at Building 16, Port Zante. Meet Chantel, a young entrepreneur with vision and ambition. She's here to make her dreams come true, and we're here to help. From the moment you walk through our doors, you'll be greeted with a warm smile and a welcoming attitude. Our dedicated staff is here to guide you every step of the way. As Chantel is taken to her appointment with a business advisor, you'll get a glimpse of our workspace designed for collaboration and innovation. Our business advisors are the backbone of our success, ready to provide expert guidance and advice for your small business journey. Personalized consultations ensure that your business goals and aspirations are understood and supported every step of the way. At the Ministry of Small Business and Entrepreneurship, we're more than just an office. We're a community, a support system, and a family dedicated to your success. Join us on this exciting journey to turn your dreams into reality. The Ministry of Small Business and Entrepreneurship, building businesses, fueling innovation. Your success story starts here.
Good morning, everyone present in the room and following us live as we bring you our second quarter press conference for the ministries under the Minister, the Honorable Samal Duggins. Honorable Samal Duggins, Minister of Sports, Agriculture, Fisheries and Marine Resources, Small Business, Entrepreneurship, Cooperatives and the Creative Economy. Miss Valencia Sider, Permanent Secretary for the Ministry of Sports. Mr. Miguel Fleming, Permanent Secretary for the Ministry of Agriculture, Fisheries and Marine Resources. Ms. Delreen Taylor, Permanent Secretary for the Ministry of Small Business, Entrepreneurship, Cooperatives and the Creative Economy. Ms. Erla Clark, Registrar of Cooperatives, Miss Robertine Webb, Director of the Creative Economy, Mr. Pierre Liebert, Director of Culture, Miss Maritza Queely, Port Officer within the Department of Marine Resources, who's sitting for Director Randall Thompson, other dignitaries and senior government officials, distinguished guests, members of the media present with us today, colleagues, friends, all. Good morning again and welcome to our second quarter press conference update. I am Leah Craig Chatterton and I'm the director within the Ministry of Small Business, Entrepreneurship, Cooperatives, and the Creative Economy. But this morning, I have the honor of serving as your chairperson of today's press conference. As we begin this second quarter update, I invite everyone to please stand for the playing of the national anthem of our federation.
O land of beauty, our country where peace abounds, thy children stand free on the strength of will and love, with good in all our schools, Saint Kitts and Nevis are a nation bound together with a common destiny. As stalwarts we stand for justice and liberty, with wisdom and truth we will serve and honor thee. No sword, no spear can conquer, for God will sure defend. His blessing shall forever to posterity extend.
Please remain standing for our prayer. Heavenly Father, we thank you for the gift of this day and for bringing us together for this second quarter press conference. We ask for your guidance and wisdom as we gather to reflect on our work and plan for the way forward. Bless our leaders with wisdom, vision, courage, and integrity as they continue to raise the standard for the good of our people. Grant us clarity in our discussions and togetherness in our purpose so that all we do may uplift our communities and honor your will. May today's proceedings be fruitful and may our actions always lead to progress, growth, and betterment of all. We ask these things through your holy name. Amen. Thank you and please be seated. Please allow me to also recognize the presence of Ms. Shannon Hawley, Chair of the St. Kitts Nevis National Carnival Committee. It is my distinct pleasure to welcome you again to our second quarter press conference for 2025, held under the theme, Raising the Standard. This quarterly press conference is part of our commitment to transparency, accountability, and keeping you, our farmers, our fishers, our sportsmen and women, small business owners and entrepreneurs, creatives and cultural practitioners, cooperative societies alike, our people, informed about the progress and performance of our very vibrant, dynamic, active ministries and departments. Our theme this quarter, Raising the Standard, is more than just a catchphrase. It is our commitment to continuously push the bar higher in everything we do, from planning and policy making to implementation and delivery. It means setting clear goals, demanding excellence, and ensuring that every initiative and project meets the higher mark of quality, impact, and service for our citizens. Once again, we're taking an approach that is open and engaging, and today, instead of lengthy speeches, each department will present a pre-recorded highlight reel capturing the milestones, successes, and ongoing efforts that are moving us forward and raising the standard of what good governance looks like. At the center of this program, of course, is leadership that insists on excellence, takes decisive action, and focuses on delivering results that truly make a difference. It's about ensuring that commitments don't just stay on paper, but they come to life in our communities, our businesses, and our daily lives. So, on that note, I invite you to join me in welcoming our minister, the Honorable Samal Duggins, whose leadership continues to challenge all of us to do better, be better, and raise the standard every single day. Minister, the floor is yours.
Pleasant morning, distinguished colleagues, staff across the various ministries under my portfolio, friends in the media, as well as all you beautiful people across St. Kitts and Nevis, and those that are tuned in and watching or listening from beyond our federation. Now, this morning, I stand before you with a profound sense of gratitude and humility to report to the nation on the work accomplished across my ministries over the past 3 months. Today, I wish to share information with you. Information that I believe that speaks to a simple truth. That St. Kitts and Nevis is not merely moving forward, but we are indeed raising and rising to a new standard. We are proving to the world that small islands can dream bigger, that we can build bigger and stronger, and that we can soar to heights higher than ever before. Over the past 3 months, we have seen some of the bold visions be transformed into real victories. Victories that have given our nation countless reasons to be proud and raise our national pride. We've seen victories across the Ministry of Agriculture. And we have raised the standard there with projects like our Barefoot's Hatchery, where we started distributing our day-old chicks to our farmers for the first time. Now, this initiative, as simple as it may seem in our context, has positioned St. Kitts and Nevis as the leading day-old supplier of chicks in the entire OECS region. Now, it didn't stop there. Over the last 3 months, we also invested heavily in skills training and innovation, equipping our farmers and butchers to hone their craft and elevate the quality of meat production. Across the Federation, we have seen where our livestock farmers have been producing livestock, but what has been missing is that high quality cut that we can now service our high-end industries. And we have been putting effort and emphasis in developing that. First, we had Southern University coming in, doing a training session, and then we brought in colleagues from Jamaica to do follow-up training sessions as well. We also recently, over the last few weeks, received 15,000 coconut slips, which we are distributing to our farmers. We recognize that that industry has been booming, and unfortunately, in years past, most of which have been imported. We are saying soon enough, no more importation, more local production. But this also comes on the heels of us distributing over 150 pineapple slips to our farmers. 150,000 pineapple slips, I stand corrected, to our farmers, and nearly 100,000 plantain and banana slips as well. Because we believe fundamentally, we will eat of the seeds that we sow. And as we sow these seeds, the future shall be a bountiful harvest. But I I also believe there has been no doubt that we have raised the standard in fisheries. And on the heels of last year's record-breaking numbers, over $19.6 million in revenue, this year we have begun exploring new frontiers, such as the industry around Caribbean king crab and the farming of that. And that is something that we are now exploring the possibilities. Considering that most of the crab meat consumed have been imported crab meat, I do believe there is a space for us to farm our own king crab here in the Caribbean. We have also been strengthening coastal protection. And in that effort, we have received new equipment, tractors, and different components that you will hear more about to assist in combating the surge in sargassum blue. We know the devastation that has caused to our coastal region, and we believe that we have to tackle that head on. And we have been making strides in that over the last 3 months. But my people, that is in the realm of agriculture and fisheries. We have also been raising the standard in sports. We've seen our tennis players, our swimmers, our volleyball players, our cricketers, our footballers, and our career athletes who have been carrying our flag and waving them high regionally and internationally at a number of different competitions, bringing home medals and trophies on each occasion. But this proves a fundamental point that our island can produce giants. Not only giants of heart and of spirit, but giants of talent, ladies and gentlemen. We have an abundance of that here in the Federation. We have also been elevating and raising the standard in sports tourism. We have invited the world on a number of occasions to our shores, hosting historic matches, and these resonate far beyond the field of play. We've seen that in cricket. We are every month of this year so far, we've had a cricket tournament hosted across the country. We are raising the standard in volleyball, where we have been hosting regional volleyball tournaments, most of which would have taken place at the Marriott Beach. We've also seen that in football. And most recently, it was a joy for me to be a part of hosting the first ever regional and international match in a rural community in this country. And that was hosted on the Samuel Williams playing field down in Verchars. Raising the standard, showing that it is a countrywide effort and not focused in the city alone. But we have been raising the standard as well, small business and entrepreneurship. We have been teaching our entrepreneurs not just about how to produce, but also how to package, present, and excel in markets both locally and globally. We have placed specific focus on women in business. We have been investing in their confidence, investing in their skills, investing in their leadership, and ensuring that they take the rightful place at the helm of our economy. Because we believe that any economy that is run and has a proper balance of women is an economy moving in the right direction. We have also been raising the standard in the creative economy. And in this sector, we have seen our homegrown talent take center stage locally, regionally, and internationally in a bigger way than ever before. We've seen where the right mix of training, international collectivity, and mentorship has brought artists like Dejour, has connected bands like Small Acts, Grandmasters, to Mr. Darian Dash, one of the fundamental architects of the world-renowned Rockefeller Records, who has made time to come to St. Kitts and Nevis and speak to our creatives on the business of music. Also, Steve Urchin, Dana Shagan, Damon DeGraff, and the powerful Kosai, who are all a part of our most recent rhythm retreat, to where you will hear a lot more on that development and the music that has come out of that wonderful initiative. But in the creative industry, as we empower that, we cannot forget culture, because we are nothing without our roots and our heritage. And we have also been raising the standard in ensuring that we remain connected to our roots, developing our folklore, and ensuring that it remains present at all categories of our life. Also preserving our sacred historical sites to make sure that we never lose the essence of who we are while we are endeavoring to develop who we are becoming. And also celebrating our heroes that ensure that these stories are told to generation after generation. We can never forget that. And I always say, when we think of history, we think in the context of the stories that we've heard and the art that we see. And we need to ensure that we document today that future generations will understand who we were as a people here in St. Kitts and Nevis in this era of our existence. But as we talk about that, and as I bring the curtain down on the creative sector, I cannot go on without talking about how we have raised the standard in sugar mass. Ladies and gentlemen, we have celebrated successive record-breaking years over the last 3 years. Last year being the biggest by a number of standards. Biggest in so many categories of evaluation of our own sugar mass, and regionally as well. But more importantly, ladies and gentlemen, it is the economic impact that sugar mass has had on our country. When measured scientifically, we saw a return of data that suggests that our sugar mass last year would have earned economically over $21 million over the 2-3 week period of sugar mass for the St. Kitts and Nevis. And that is a significant amount. And I believe as we launch earlier than ever before, as we have now positioned ourselves to be more prepared than ever before, Sugar Mass 25-26 is definitely scheduled to be one of the best ones yet. But as I wrap up, ladies and gentlemen, I want to also talk about how St. Kitts and Nevis has been setting a new standard in uniting Africa globally. In recent months, St. Kitts and Nevis has raised the standard in fostering transatlantic trade, cultural exchange, and transatlantic unity. We are leading a new era of connection between the Caribbean and Africa, a vision that took flight quite literally this past June, where a plane landed here and we welcomed directly from Nigeria over 120 persons on that flight. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this historic moment, not just for me, but I believe for all of us, should signify a living legacy. Because this moment is actually the realization of the dreams that were once imagined by a number of great visionaries. We've heard the great Marcus Garvey speak about it. We've heard the great Bob Marley speak about it, and countless others about the idea of uniting the Caribbean and the Black diaspora with the motherland. St. Kitts and Nevis has not just been talking about it. We've been walking the walk that everyone has been talking, setting new standards in that realm. And I believe these are things that we should be proud of, because at the end of the day, as one of the smallest countries in the Western Hemisphere, to be doing the things that we have been doing and leading the course as we have been leading the course our people are showing the tenacity, the strength, and the poise that stands behind that statement that we're small but we're tall. And our people have been demonstrating that. But this does not come by our efforts alone. Our collaboration across the globe with a number of entities. Particularly, I wish to highlight Aquarian Consult, who has been one of the teams behind these initiatives and ensuring that we turn these from vision into tangible action. And I want to give all the credit in the world to Aisha Mena and Aquarian Council for all the work that they have been doing across the Atlantic to assist in these initiatives. And so we see, when we look across all the ministries over the past 3 months, we have proven one thing beyond a doubt, that raising the standard is not merely a slogan or talking point. It is indeed our duty. It is our calling. And it is the surest path, I believe, to our nation's greatest potential. And we will continue raising the standard, especially as long as I have the remit of leading these ministries. For our farmers, for our fishers, for our athletes, our entrepreneurs, and our artists and creatives of all sorts, including every single citizen, everyone whose dreams are tied to this federation. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a morning where we will be updating in detail a number of things that we have been able to achieve over the last 3 months. And I look forward to sharing that with you this morning. And I want to thank you, the people of St. Kitts and Nevis, for your continued support and partnership, because this has been a journey that has not always been easy. And anyone knows leading a nation into uncharted waters where the world has been changing in and of itself, is never going to be an easy job. But here we are, doing it together. And I believe together we will rise to the occasion, and together we will continue raising and setting new standards, not just for St. Kitts and Nevis, but for the region and indeed for the rest of the world. Thank you and good morning.
Thank you, Honorable Minister, for those powerful and inspiring remarks. Your words are a continuous reminder that raising the standard isn't just a theme, and it has to be a daily expectation when working in your ministries. And it's about ensuring that each action we take, every policy we implement, and every project we deliver is done with greater care, higher quality, and clear focus on impact. So now let's turn our attention to these updates and see firsthand how the vision is taking shape, how our goals are being met realistically, services are being improved, and our standards are being lifted across the board. Let us begin the presentations. First up, we'll see from the Ministry of Small Business, Entrepreneurship, Cooperatives, and the Creative Economy.
This quarter, the Department of Creative Economy kicked off big. We welcomed Darian Dash, a legend in the business and one of the minds behind Rockefeller Records, the label that helped launch Jay-Z. He dropped real gems on the business of music with our local professionals. Then came From the Soul of My Pan, a powerhouse steel pan concert in partnership with the Bank of Nevis, EBJ Harmonics. Virtuosos like Andre White and Duvon Stewart performed alongside our very own Nigel Prentice and Dijon Francis. Next, we made history with the Afro-Caribbean Exchange welcoming the first ever direct flight from Nigeria to St. Kitts and Nevis. Over 100 changemakers came together for cultural workshops, school tours, and more. We took it up a notch with Rhythm Retreat, a week of intense music development with industry giants like Hossein, Dana Shagan, Steve Wilson, and Damon DeGraff. It ended with a 60-person industry brunch filled with live pitching and powerful connections. We celebrated the 25th Heartbeat Drumming Recital with over 200 students and honored our music specialists Anelta Wilkin and Royd Phipps. And at the St. Kitts Music Festival, we partnered with the Ministry of Tourism to create unforgettable arrival experiences. So, what's the creative economy doing? raising the standard, and we're just getting started.
At Cultural Heritage, we have continued raising the standard, just like the ebb and flow of the waves in our Caribbean Sea. We welcomed the Kalinago chief from Dominica, who came to bless the sacred ground at Bloody Point, the site of the Kalinago massacre. Remarkably, several of our activities took place close to that sacred ground, including We Villaged At, the Challengers Stone Fort edition. This community uplifting event saw the honoring of 4 outstanding adult residents and 2 young creatives. Griot, another hallmark initiative, took place at Oasis at Wingfield Manor. There was also amateur storytelling and a children's corner complete with jumpy stories. Cultural Heritage also hosted the inaugural marketing workshop with our folklore practitioners. Facilitator Yarony Morton informed on several marketing tools, including networking and effective use of social media. Cultural Heritage in turn did its own networking when we met Coyote, director of Black Bones Theatre Company. One highlight of the parting gala was a dancing and drumming presentation featuring our folklore along with Nigerian Black Bones Theatre Company. The media launch of our Swank Creative Cultural Music Challenge follows our cultural music theme. Our minister emphasized that our intrinsic traditional music can inform prospective visitors that our federation is more than a paradise. Yes, it is time for a short layover. See you next quarter to hear how we continued raising the standard.
The Department of Cooperatives has been busy this second quarter. Here are the highlights. First up, training sessions. We're helping our cooperatives level up with new skills to build capacity, manage better, and grow stronger. We also used Easter break to engage our little savers at the Junior Savers Easter Workshop, teaching money smarts and cooperation early. And we made a special visit to Joshua Obadiah Primary to encourage students to save and bank. On the financial side, we've been engaging accountants and auditors to help our cooperatives sharpen their financial tools. With the help of the department, the St. Kitts Nevis National Cooperative League and Taxi Co-op were able to have their long-awaited AGMs, paving the way for stronger cooperative governance. We also kicked off the Cooperatives Technical Committee, setting the stage for innovation and strategy. Next up, the Agro Strip. Our cooperatives showed up and showed out with local goodies and fresh produce. We're raising the standard. Stay tuned, stay involved, and remember, together we achieve more.
Quarter 2 was all about momentum. The Small Business Development Center continued raising the standard, building stronger entrepreneurs, deeper partnerships, and smarter support systems. We kicked things off with labeling standards training, giving entrepreneurs practical tools to elevate product packaging and meet compliance. From Canva design to local regulations, packaging became power. We also invested in leadership. Women entrepreneurs took part in a transformative session focused on business growth, emotional intelligence, and embracing the CEO mindset. That commitment to excellence extended to our team. Staff of the ministry completed the Taiwan ICDF-sponsored UE Entrepreneurship Program, sharpening their skills in leadership, finance, and enterprise development. Our momentum reached new heights at the Afri-Caribbean Exchange Expo. Local and Nigerian businesses connected under the theme, Two Nations, One Rhythm. We closed the quarter at the Agro Strip and Small Business Field, where entrepreneurs and cooperatives came together to showcase, sell, and celebrate unity during the International Year of Cooperatives. From packaging to partnerships, we're not just building businesses, we're raising the standard. the Department of Entrepreneurship, we are not just checking boxes, we are raising the standard. First up, financial literacy with real impact. We launched the Building Bankable Businesses program to equip entrepreneurs with the skills to budget, price, plan, create key financial documents, and most importantly, bank on themselves. Then came lights, camera, pressure. The premiere of our first documentary, Apply Pressure, Desiree in the Making, celebrated the hustle, the heart, and the raw talent of our local artist, Desiree, capturing the journey behind red wine. We also took a major step forward on the regional stage by signing an MOU with Kariri. This partnership unlocks new innovation, research, and technical support for our MSMEs, strengthening the entrepreneurial ecosystem to drive real growth. In addition, we crossed continents to expand our impact. As part of the landmark Afro-Caribbean exchange between Nigeria and St. Kitts, we teamed up with the Department of Agriculture to host the Agri-MSME Technical Workshop. This international collaboration brought Nigeria and local change makers together to share ideas, build networks, and scale enterprise across borders. 4 powerful moves, 1 clear message. From vision to execution, we are raising the standard.
The last quarter has been an exciting time for the National Carnival Committee and Secretariat. We've been working tirelessly to deliver an unforgettable Sugar Mass 54. Here's how we've been raising the standard so far. Registration is now open for all of our National Carnival competitions: Junior and Senior Calypso, Soca Monarch, Panorama, and Talented Teen. Forms are available online and at the Secretariat. In June, we made history, launching our Carnival calendar with the Tourism Authority in New York City. This milestone connected us with international press and shared Sugar Mass with the world. During the St. Kitts Music Festival, we proudly introduced our 6 Miss St. Kitts and Nevis pageant ambassadors, remarkable young women who reflect our nation's pride and talent. Our new carnival merchandise launched at our Sugar Mass pop-up during the festival. This is already flying off the shelves. Your support fuels the energy behind Sugar Mass, and together we'll make Sugar Mass 54 the best one yet. Remember our slogan, sweet to the core, for Sugar Mass 54.
That was our quarterly update from the Ministry of Small Business, Entrepreneurship, Cooperatives, and the Creative Economy. Now, stay tuned. We'll see from the Ministry of Sports.
Welcome to the Quarter 2 Sports Roundup from the Department of Sports, where passion meets progress and every achievement raises the standard. In tennis, our junior athletes served up serious wins at the Barbados International Junior Tournament, bringing home championship titles and putting our program on the regional map. At the Carifta Games in Trinidad and Tobago, our athletes delivered. Medals were earned, personal bests shattered, proving St. Kitts and Nevis is a force on the track and in the pool. Cricket came out swinging this quarter. Local and regional tournaments picked up steam. School cricket stayed front and center, and our stars rose to the occasion. Jazara Claxton earned her spot on the West Indies women's team, while Mikhail Louis was named the West Indies Championship Player of the Year 2023-2024. This is what raising the standard looks like. Football brought the world to our shores. This quarter, we hosted 3 major international fixtures right here at home: a World Cup qualifier, an international friendly, and the landmark Afro-Caribbean exchange match against Nigeria. And on the greens, the St. Kitts Open reminded the world that our island is more than a destination. It's a hub for world-class sports and tourism. Together, we're not just playing the game, we're raising the standard.
Folks, from the Ministry of Sports, just highlights of the last quarter, not everything that they've done. We now head into the Ministry of Agriculture, Fisheries, and Marine Resources to get a peep show of what they've been up to.
From food security to global partnerships, this past quarter has been a powerful demonstration of progress. Let's take a closer look at the highlights shaping our future. We hit a major milestone in food security. Over 20,000 day-old chicks will now be available each year for egg production, thanks to the Layer Chicken Industry Sustainable Development Project in partnership with Taiwan ICDF and our Ministry of Agriculture. Next up, the St. Kitts Abattoir leveled up through an intensive meat fabrication training led by Jamaican expert Peter Daniels, with support from IECA, raising the standard for local meat quality. Then came a history-making moment. The Business and Agriculture Expo welcomed our Nigerian brothers and sisters. During this landmark visit, the delegates engaged in a bilateral meeting, bringing together top advisors and officials to strengthen ties in agriculture with the theme, Two Nations, One Rhythm. And to seal the deal, the Agri and MSME Technical Workshop brought out the best minds from Nigeria and St. Kitts. Real talk, real strategies, real action. And with every milestone, every partnership, and every bold step forward, we're raising the standard in agriculture, and we're just getting started.
In quarter two, the Department of Marine Resources continued to raise the standard. Here's a look at some of the key initiatives we were proud to be a part of. With support from the Government of Japan to the Regional Sargassum Project, we received key equipment to boost the shoreline cleanup. Lightweight tractors, claw grapples, loader brackets, and lifting arms. This means faster, more effective sargassum response where it's needed most. We wrapped up the Coast Fish Project with a regional seminar in Dominica, highlighting local innovations like artificial reefs and biodegradable fish pots that are already advancing marine sustainability. This quarter, we dove into some exciting community outreach. We partnered with the Jessup's community management team for a hands-on FADS workshop, where 2 fish aggregating devices were built, adding to the multiple FADS we built over the last 3 months waiting to be deployed. And through our ongoing partnership with SKN, we supported a new initiative to farm Caribbean king crab, connecting reef restoration with livelihoods. To re-energize our work towards establishing the St. Kitts Nevis Marine Management Area, the SKNMMA, we brought key stakeholders together for a refresher session to share progress and align priorities. From our shores to our sea, we are raising the standard and leading the charge for a more sustainable, resilient, and a thriving marine future in St. Kitts and Nevis.
From April to June 2025, the Medicinal Cannabis Authority made major strides towards a more inclusive and transparent medicinal cannabis industry. On April 25th, we proudly opened the official office of the authority on Princes Street, Bastille. The event featured powerful remarks from the Minister of Agriculture, the Attorney General, and the Deputy Prime Minister, all reaffirming the government's commitment to a just and equitable cannabis industry. Remarks were also delivered on behalf of the Organization of Rastafari in Unity, emphasizing a crucial national principle that the Rastafari community must receive first and preferential access to the medicinal cannabis industry. It was announced that the cannabis licensing fees will be completely waived for registered Rastafari groups. In May, the authority also made several media appearances and hosted 3 town hall meetings in St. Kitts to explain the licensing process and gather public feedback. These open discussions were frank, insightful, and deeply valuable. We're building not just an industry, but a legacy of inclusion, education, and empowerment to raise the standards and harness the full potential of medicinal cannabis.
What wonderful highlight reels. Thank you so much to all of our teams within the various departments. What you've just seen were 10 highlight reels, 10 reels showcasing hard work, showcasing evidence of the last 3 months, showcasing what the next few years will look like under the leadership of our Honorable Samal Duggins. It's a reflection of how vision and decisive action are turning into real, measurable results on the ground. From empowering small businesses, nurturing our creative industries, and developing sports, to strengthening our food security and marine resources. Together, we are truly raising the standard. We're now arrived at our Q&A session, and I'm certain that there's much to be asked, having viewed all of the work that's been happening over the last quarter. So we'll now open the floor for questions and answer. All questions, please note, will be directed to the minister, and the minister will delegate the most suitable representative for response as required. When asking your question, please state your name, the name of the media house you represent. And for a smooth flow and to ensure everyone has an opportunity, we kindly ask that you limit yourself to one question at a time. And we'll also alternate between media houses to facilitate everyone as best as possible.
Morning, German Abel, SKN Vibes. One question, multiple parts. Mr. Minister.
Sounds like you're cheating.
The underlying theme I'm gathering from this press conference this morning, what has been done across your ministry is the ministries is a focus on the relationship with Africa, because it seems as though it touched every ministry within under your portfolio. What's the major focus area for you in terms of this relationship with Africa? Because one of the things I've recognized that has not been done so far is educating the people in terms of this partnership that you guys and the government is seeking to engage the Nigerians with regarding your travels and the exchange here.
I want to thank you for that question from SKN Vibes. I am trying to contextualize the question, but you asked what's the main focus area. But as you recognize, there are multiple focus areas. One focus area obviously is to do with trade, particularly agricultural trade as it relates to my ministries. And with that, we have done a number of things. The workshops that you saw displayed there, but we also hosted, there was a team that was sent by the Minister of Agriculture of Nigeria, and we hosted bilaterals to discuss the furtherance of the MOUs that we have with Nigeria to really establish tangible trade between the regions. Now, why is that so important? We've seen recently what is happening with the North. Tariffs, the different issues that we've been having with the geopolitics. We believe that we need options. We are not saying let's done away with the North. We are saying we need to have options. And what is not an option readily, unless it comes through the North, is trade across the Atlantic with the South, being partly Africa. Other countries But we have established a relationship, particularly first with Nigeria, and we are expanding upon that. So that's one area. But then there's also cultural trade. And we saw that on display. They sent cultural groups to learn from our cultural groups, but also to share with our cultural groups. And if you were there at the closing gala, there was a performance that happened where both cultural groups performed together, having elements of each other's cultural presentation in one performance. But that extended far beyond just the performance, but the education, as you mentioned, and you were saying that there wasn't, but I believe the education was a critical component. But beyond the education, it's also the idea of showcasing how both continents, one, are similar, but how they could collaborate, both areas could collaborate well into the future. And then beyond that, there was a small business development, again, tying back to trade. So a number of our local producers are looking now to share goods into the Nigerian and African market and vice versa.
So then you would conclude that trade is a major focus in this relationship between that you guys are forging.
Yes, trade stands at the center and of the relationship. And we are taking it further. What I could say is there are ongoing, not just discussions, but matters developing to make that more tangible. And I don't believe that that flight you saw would be the last one in a real way. And I also believe that we will soon see cargo actually landing here and leaving here back to the continent.
Mrs. Duggins, Glenn Bart from SKN Newsline. I want to continue along the lines that we have started, the trade with Africa. You have mentioned that the memorandum of understandings, you had trade was at the core. But here are the facts. In the Caribbean, we have serious difficulty trading among ourselves. Transportation is a big issue. Now, you're multiplying that problem many times over in terms of transportation, cost of transportation between Africa and the Caribbean or African St. Kitts and vice versa. Quantity of products traded is going to play an important role in terms of keeping costs down. What do we have to trade, really, apart from small quantities of products? How are we going to overcome that cost factor and the transportation factor? Because I don't know if you realize that even if we were to become a hub, certain infrastructure will have to be created on the ground here in St. Kitts at the airport. Even our airstrip is too short for direct flights from St. Kitts to Africa. And that means that we'll have to extend our runway. So I want you to talk about the practicality of developing this relationship in trade between Africa, Nigeria in particular, St. Kitts and Nevis, and the rest of the Caribbean.
And I wish, again, thank you for that intervention. However, I would like to say before I start that we also have to be careful that we don't put opinions as facts. The airport runway cannot never be too short to accept a direct flight from Africa when it did. It actually did.
Just a clarification.
It actually did.
Just a clarification.
And it accepted one of the largest planes, a 777.
Yes. I agree.
And so that was an opinion.
That's not the issue I'm talking about.
Yes, but I was
There is no problem in having a direct flight coming from Africa, England, Sri Lanka, direct to St. Kitts. That is not a problem. The plane will come and it will land. You cannot take an aircraft as big as that plane that came, the 777-300, and take a direct flight from St. Kitts to Nigeria. It is impossible. It will not take off. It went to Antigua to get refuel because it could not take off with a full load of fuel to go to Africa. That is what I mean. We have to extend the runway. A plane like that requires a minimum of 8,000 feet of usable runway to take off. We have 8,000, which is not usable, it means that the plane has to take off by 5,000 feet. It's not going to happen. So that is why I said infrastructure is going to be important. I've done the research.
Again, if we're talking about the development of infrastructure, I agree. But again, I reiterate, it did. So you can't say it's not going to happen. It did. You saw it, we saw it, it did. But secondly, as we move forward, as we move forward.
I don't want to belabor this, but you are missing the point. My point is that if you are going to develop trade, cargo, for example, that's weight. If you're going to have a large aircraft weighed down by cargo coming from St. Lucia to St. Kitts to be taken to Nigeria, etc., you place fuel on top of that, that plane cannot take off at the Robert L. Bratcher International Airport. It will not. With a full load of fuel, it cannot. That is why this aircraft, this Air-Peace aircraft, went to Antigua to get refueled to go back to Nigeria. That's fact.
No, again, and I respect your intervention, but let us also recognize a few fundamental things. What came here was a 777. It doesn't require a 777 to do trade between Nigeria and the Caribbean. In fact, you can go with a A330, A320, which is similar to what comes here every day with American Airlines, JetBlue, and the others. And I'm saying we have opinions, but let us talk about what is reality. What is reality is that we do have the infrastructure to facilitate trade between Nigeria, Africa, and the Caribbean. We do. Do we need development and upgrades? Of course, certainly, because we need warehousing. We need a few things that must be done and placed to further that. However, these are the things that are now being discussed and developed because we recognize this is not something that has been done. And when we talk about raising the standard, this is what we are talking about. So you're talking about seeing it as is. We are talking about the standard, the new standards that we are setting. This is just the fundamental ground floor. We are moving to new standards. And these things are fast being developed and actioned. And I could tell you that. So what you're seeing is just the development towards that. Now, as we talk about what do we have to trade, we have many things to trade. We have our local expertise in our people. There are things that we understand and we have been leading in that the rest of the world would be happy to tap to our expertise. So we can trade that intellect, that experience. What else do we have to trade? And I want to share this story because I want us not to be misguided by just the thought pattern of what we see on the ground. I learned a fundamental aspect of trade from visiting Avery Island, where they produce Tabasco. Tabasco is produced on a 5 square mile island. 5 square miles. And it is the leading distributed pepper sauce in the world, in the globe, not in the hemisphere, not in the continent, in the world, produced on 5 square miles. We have 68. Now tell me if we can do something. But it's how we look at things. Now, what does this trade mean? Raw commodities could be grown in other countries, including Africa, processed, just as they do in Avery Island, created into products, branded, and distributed. But it's how we look at things. And when we change the way we look at things, the things we look at change. And that's why I'm saying I understand your opinions, but I don't want us to just place opinions as fact, because there's a lot more fact that go behind what is possible and what we are doing. And I'm happy to share, but I just wanted to say early, as we state opinions, let's be clear that there are opinions and there's actual fact that can develop into real tangible outcomes. And I say that respectfully, but just saying that because in your voice as a media personnel, the nation and the world is listening. And some of what you say, they may believe. And what you don't want to put to our people is that something as possible as this, and something that is happening, that they believe that it's not possible, it's not doing that. Because that will be incorrect.
So my question still remains, what particular specific plans now do you have to facilitate this idea of trade between the two countries? You have the memorandum of understanding.
Correct.
What specific steps now are required to move it from point A to point B? We've had the exposition that came, which is useful, but you're going to need more.
Correct. So then let's look at the timeline. We signed the memorandum of understanding in March. 10 weeks after, some 10 weeks after, we saw the first plane landing here. So again, here we have moved from point A to point B. We are now talking about moving from point B onward. Part of that is ensuring that we have regular transport between the islands. So now we are looking to establish regular flights, and we are also looking to establish sea trade, cargo moving back and forth. The development of that is also to ensure that we build in the infrastructure to facilitate such large cargo shipments, ports, storage. So that's another point. But at the fundamental base of it, it is we started in March. 10 weeks after that in March, we saw real tangible outcomes. Now we are moving from where we are to even further tangible outcomes. And these are the things that are developing. Now this started at this point 14 weeks ago, 14 weeks. And we are talking about tangible outcomes from conversation to what we've seen so far. So it's not just what you saw as the starting point. It started before that. The discussion started in March when we went to the Africa-Caribbean Summit. The PM, myself, and the rest of the delegation. So we are now seeing the strides that's taking us from one stage to another. But the ultimate goal is to establish regular trade between the continent of Africa and the Caribbean and Americas. That is the ultimate goal.
Good morning, Minister. I'm Lorraine Wilkin from WIN FM. And I'm going to change the topic a little. First of all, I want to commend you all on the great advances that have been made or are being made in the area of entertainment, creative economy, and so on. And so my first question is very short and to the point. Where are we in relation to the Creative Arts Center? Is there a timeline on whatever the next phase is in bringing it to fruition?
And I wish to thank you for that, the WIN FM. Yes, there is. So the Creative Arts Center is listed under the public benefit option of our Citizenship by Investment program. And so far, it has been one of those projects that have been performing well. In fact, I could tell you that the full design has been presented and approved. I could also tell you that a contractor is now being contracted, I would say, because the tender went out and it went out around the world. They have visited a number of contractors and received information from a number of persons interested, and they are now contracting finally. The timeline that has been presented by the developers is to have a groundbreaking. And when I say groundbreaking, I do mean start of work, not ceremonial groundbreaking, but start of work, commencement of work by December of this year, early January. So that is a timeline as presented by the developer. Yes.
Okay, Mr. Minister, just indulge me a little. I'm going to break the rules a little bit, but I want to go to this, to the agriculture sector for a little bit. We are currently in the Atlantic hurricane season, right? This question is twofold, and it partly piggybacks to the trade side of it. One, what's the department's position as we head into the hurricane season pertaining to sustainability within the agriculture sector? God forbid that there's something major that we can see transpiring in terms of this season, in terms of food security. And also, you mentioned a little bit about Tabasco and the peppers. We're seeing now that tomorrow is the deadline for the trade negotiations with the U.S. Administration and potentially tariffs coming in place. In the long run, there's going to be some increases in tariffs. How is this going to impact your position, the government's position, the agriculture sector, pertaining to the exportation of these peppers?
Yes, so I would take that and I would give some details on that, but I'll also invite the permanent secretary in the Ministry of Agriculture to give some insight as well. But what I could tell you about the hurricane season and our food security. So we look at food security very comprehensively. One, if you recognize, we spoke about the coconuts that we received. We spoke about the plantains and the bananas. We spoke about the pineapples. Now, these are not just random items that we just pull out of the sky. We have been looking at our food import bill, where we spend money, where we have spent money over the last decade, and where we have shortfalls in local production. And we have been filling those gaps. And so bananas and plantains and pineapples and coconuts, these are areas where a significant amount of money is our expense, but that money leaves the island. Even what we did with the training of our butchers, we also recognize that many of our hotels and restaurants have to import prime cut meat that we grow right on the island. And what was the gap? The gap was how we treat the meat and how we are able to cut have these prime cuts prepared. And so again, we've been filling the gaps. Now, beyond that, we don't operate in isolation. We operate as a part of a number of different organized bodies. One being the OECS, wider CARICOM, wider you have CELAC, and then you have different organized bodies that are even hemispheric and global. Now, if there were to be some issue, I could tell you that we have been in discussion with the OECS. Now, usually a hurricane, and hope I'm not talking out of turn, but hurricanes don't usually hit all islands at once. And so where there is issue in one island, the idea of the OECS is to come together to support that particular island. And we've seen that happen in the case of Dominica when they were hit. We've seen it more recently in the case of St. Vincent and Grenada when they were hit. And likewise, the same support has been discussed to be rendered to any member of the OECS, including us. So that's another factor. Where we fall short, we have our brothers and sisters in the region. And I think that is also extended to CARICOM and wider. Because we can't control the hurricanes, and that's the truth. However, what we can do is be prepared and have the right support prepared to come and assist us when we need assistance, and also to return that when they do need assistance as well. So I think, I don't know if that, there was another part that you...
No, you answered that one specifically, but the Tabasco and the trade tariffs.
Yes. Now, regarding the trade tariffs, what is the truth behind that? Those tariffs are applied across the board. And so what will happen is that it does not affect St. Kitts and Nevis. These are not tariffs placed on St. Kitts and Nevis. It does not affect the Caribbean. These are not tariffs placed on the Caribbean. It affects the world. And all it does is raise the price across the world. So it doesn't significantly affect trade from a particular region. So I don't think we are concerned at this point about any adverse effects, because every region will have to pay the same tariff, which means the price just raises across the board for everybody. That is real. That is the reality of it. Until there is other data or evidence that shows that we should particularly be concerned, I don't think there's any concern.
Well, the general idea was going forward, because you're now developing the Tabasco pepper industry. And what's the idea of it going forward in the long run, specifically to this sector? Not just St. Kitts and Nevis and its exports, but specifically that sector. Do you foresee any challenges going forward?
Well, what we see because the whole idea of it is export, right? It creates an export product through which we will gain valuable foreign exchange. There's a sure market on the other end, where the company has said, based on our size, whatever we can produce, they'll be willing to accept. And so you have a sure market. Peppers are crops that we know we can grow well. So you have a sure market with a crop that you have expertise in growing. They have come, they have tested our peppers, they have approved our processes. And so now it's about engaging in mass production for export. Again, you asked about the tariffs. Our plan has not changed because the tariff does not significantly affect us as individual countries. It affects the globe. Who should be more concerned is those in America, because what it does is raise the price for them. But as we export into, we are on the same bar that we are now, because everybody's bar will raise the same way. So all it does is just raise the bar for everybody. It doesn't affect any individual country or exporter. And that's the point I was making. So our plan remains the same.
I want to talk about the two things now. Egg production, and you have the hatchery is now operational. What is the annual quantity of eggs that is being aimed for, and how does that compare to what it is now or over the past 2-3 years or so in terms of the quantity of eggs that we produce on the island? And would there be any enough perhaps surplus to trade with maybe St. Martin or St. Bart's or something like that? And with regards to the sargassum seaweed, I'd like to get an idea as to, because I noticed that you have purchased some light tractors and so forth to deal with that. What was the impact this year? Because what we have heard is that it was extremely severe in the Caribbean this year. What was the impact on St. Kitts and Nevis, and how much tons of it was removed from the beaches and disposed of?
I want to thank you for that question, and I would give the opportunity to the Permanent Secretary to answer the first one on egg production, and then I would pass it to Ms. Quealy to answer the one on sargassum, as those departments directly deal with those matters. Permanent Secretary, Mr. Fleming.
Yes, thank you for your question. In regards to egg production and the hatchery, when we looked at the challenges that we are having first and foremost in terms of importing the old chicks into the Federation, we wanted to make sure that we were able to solve that issue so that farmers can get their birds on time. And, generally birds get stressed when we import them, on the airport, having to wait to get them cleared and all those type of things. I wanted to make sure that farmers get true value for their money. But looking at the imports, when we first did the concept note for developing this hatchery, we looked at, I think, over about 4 to 5 years, we import about 20,000 old chicks. And so definitely this hatchery would be able to produce more than what we're looking for. But this is good because during a certain time of the year, we always run out of eggs and we have to import eggs. But I can say with this new venture, we won't be able to, we won't have to do that anymore. And I think monthly we produce well over 300 and something thousand plus eggs every single month. And definitely there's an opportunity to export because from time to time we would extend our storage facilities to our egg producers because we would have overproduction. So we are exploring our regional markets so that we can start exporting eggs. There are a few farmers actually right now who send eggs to Tatola and those places. So we want to increase our efforts. And because having a hatchery on the island generally would, we have more persons wanting to get into egg production. And so I always ask them the question, are you sure? Because I know generally we produce a lot of eggs and we are self-sufficient. But again, we don't want to create any barriers to entry, but explore other markets so that we can export. So I think that we are doing good. And the hatchery so far has proven that this was a step in the right direction. Thank you.
Good morning. Pertaining to the sargassum management, we have not collected specific data as it relates to the quantities that we receive onshore. In the past, removal of sargassum has been done by individual entities directly impacted, such as the hotels. And these would have been those located in the Atlantic region where we have greater influx other than the Caribbean Sea. So we are now, with the procurement of some of these equipment, would be looking at the areas specifically that impact landing site and, of course, the hotel industries and those beaches that are frequently visited by our locals and tourists. And going forward, we hope to have a better management of the removal process of the sargassum and not just leave it to the individuals or persons who have been affected, but have an area management strategy and team in place where we not just remove the sargassum, but have a proper location to store and dispose of it, as well as being able to predict an influx when it occurs.
Just a quick follow-up on that. Some years ago, there was the idea that perhaps sargassum seaweed could be used for things like fertilizer and other things. Is that something that's viable still?
We have had a number of persons who have had results, good results as it relates to that. Once it's heavily processed and washed to remove the heavy metals, they have seen, for example, in fertilizers or mulch within the agricultural sector, that has been shown good outcomes. However, our concern, or what we do not know, is the long-term effects over a period of time in the consumption of some of these goods, vegetables that may be eaten as a result of it. And so we are cautious in that regard. We might be looking at other alternatives, whether it's in the exporting the good or cosmetics, craft industry as well. So there are other uses that we are also looking at.
But I just wanted to add, we also looking at export, because there are some companies around the world who actually has interest in buying the sargassum so that they can process it. So looking at being on the cautious side, it might be best that we just kind of focus on exporting it. But if there are persons on the island also who has a real viable business idea where we can really process this into something that we can utilize in agriculture and other areas, and after all the testing is done, we can see that it's really safe, then I think that is something that we'd support as well.
Thank you so much, everyone, for your questions. We just have one last question from our viewership online, and it's in relation to the Ministry of Sports and the reopening of the Kim Collins Stadium. When is that slated for, the opening ceremony?
Thank you for that question, and I'll have the Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Sports take that.
Good morning. The rededication of the Kim Collins Athletic Stadium is scheduled for this Saturday, July 12th at 1:30 p.m. Along with the short opening ceremony, we're also going to have an invitational meet between the primary schools.
Great, thank you so much. Thank you to everyone for your engaging questions. Unfortunately, we have run out of time. We will be happy to take your questions in written format and reach out to you afterwards with any additional responses. We now invite the Honourable Minister to make his closing remarks. Minister Duggins, over to you.
Thank you, Madam Chair Ceremonies, and thank you to the wonderful team that is here at the head table of permanent secretaries and directors across the ministries. You know, charting a course of action in ministries like these is quite difficult. Many of our persons within society see a lot of these industries as hobbyist industries. And I believe it's time we recognize that they are economic drivers. And so everything from carnival to the creative sector to sports, agriculture, fisheries, and all the different departments within, I believe we need to recognize the significant importance to our economic stability and not just our emotional and social and nutritional well-being, but our financial well-being as well. And I wish to take this time out to also thank the members of the media who are here, because for us, this is giving the general public an idea of the tremendous amount of work that takes place within the ministries. Now, everything that you've seen here is just 3 months of work. This is just the last 3 months. And so you recognize the tremendous amount of work that happens within the ministries. And it is your efforts combined with ours that enlighten the general public as to what is actually happening. And that's why we do this every quarter, to ensure that the general public is kept up to date, to ensure that people understand what is happening within the government, but also what is happening within these various ministries. And I thank you, the members of the media, for carrying that message to the households for us and with us. And so I must give you all the kudos for being here and taking the message out to the general public, but also asking the questions, because your thoughts are part and parcel of the general thought of the society. And the questions that you ask are on behalf of the people. And we are here to answer these questions. And where we have suitable answers, we give you. Where we lack the answers, it is for us to go and develop that capacity to do so. And so thank you again for all your input. But I also want to thank the people of St. Kitts and Nevis, and in a real way to thank the Prime Minister and the Cabinet, because yes, I have a wonderful team here with me, and we have been able to do quite a bit of work. But none of this would be possible without the support of the Prime Minister and the Federal Cabinet, because without their support, the financing and all the other requisite information and everything else that we need would not be there for us to do what we are doing. So it's a collective effort. It is a huge collective effort. And as the minister leading it, I'm inspired on a daily basis. Like even looking at the videos, it's inspiring to me, because when you're head down working, you don't recognize the amount of work that is actually done. But also just to see the amount of young people that are at the forefront of making this possible, it is a huge inspiration for me as a minister. So again, thank you to all of you for making this possible. Thank you for all who would have put this together, the media team behind that's doing all the work, and everyone that has had a hand in this. This is our second quarter, and we do expect to see you at the end of the next 3 months to give you another update as to the work that we would have accomplished. Thank you, and have a wonderful morning. Cheers.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. And in keeping with the minister's collective work, I too join the collective to echo the gratitude. So as we come to the close of today's press conference, it is indeed my honor to extend our heartfelt thanks to everyone who's made today possible. First and foremost, of course, we take a moment to give thanks to the Almighty God, whose continued guidance and blessings makes everything possible. We continue to ask for his wisdom and strength as we raise the standard in all that we do for our people. Naturally, we have to thank next our minister, whose political will and unwavering commitment to people-focused leadership continues to drive this work forward. Without his bold vision and determination to act in the best interests of those directly impacted by our efforts, none of these achievements would be possible. A sincere thank you as well to all of our permanent secretaries and directors who faithfully carry out the mandate and ensure that the ideas turn into real results every single day. To our communications units across all departments, they have a thankless job, but thank you for telling the stories. Thank you for keeping our citizens informed and for shining the spotlight on all the good work being done across these departments. A special thank you to the production team at Create TV within the Department of Entrepreneurship for today's presentations that you saw on screen, our photographers in the room, media houses, radio stations, broadcasting live, and Oddvid Solutions for making sure our message reaches far and wide. A heartfelt thank you to Aquarian Consult, who were integral in the success of the historic Afro-Caribbean exchange, building the transatlantic bridge between St. Kitts and Nevis and Nigeria, connecting the Caribbean to the motherland in a meaningful and transformative way. To our graphics team, MD, CT, iCreatives, to Nima and everyone else who played a role, your contributions definitely have not gone unnoticed. Above all, thank you to the people of St. Kitts and Nevis, who entrust us, who support us, and engage in terms of what we do to push us and keep us raising the standard. And to anyone who contributed in any way behind the scenes or up front, please know that your efforts are deeply appreciated. Thank you all for joining us for this second quarter update. And to echo the minister's sentiments, we look forward to seeing you where we can showcase proudly all of our hard work that we will do in quarter 3. Thank you so much.
This one is for all of me, darling. As anyway, we did the girl and dolly. Juve den dolly. Parade and dolly. They call me shape, sugar mass and put den dolly.